All right, welcome back. I'm Dorothy. I'm a professional astrologer. You can find me on the web at nhastrologer.com. There you can read this forecast. No, you can't read this forecast because I'm not writing this one out. I'm just going to talk this one out. But you can read the new moon and the full moon forecast, and I will talk about them in this video too. So for you who are Cancer, the month of November looks like this. So first off, everybody gets to work with some of these things, and then I'll get to the specifics for Cancer as we go through the month, okay? So on November 3rd, the Sun and Venus are conjunct in Scorpio. Now, Venus and the Sun have been conjunct since the eclipse on October 23rd, and you know, they've been going hand in hand for a while now. So today they're in an exact conjunction. Venus is finally caught up to the Sun. And what do we get with this energy? Well, Venus is in its opposite sign. Venus naturally is in charge of Taurus, and it's not necessarily a fan of being in Scorpio. But there's so much Scorpio energy going on right now. She's kind of going with the flow. So while she's going with the flow, she can be a little more sexy, a little more passionate, a little more involved in the things that she loves, you know, a little more food, a little more sensory perceptions of all of these things that you absolutely love. Whatever you love, whatever you feel is just makes you feel good or pushes you away. It's all of those senses. All of our senses are heightened when Venus is in the sign of Scorpio. Now, we can take that energy and we can go too far with it, or we can just examine where we are in our lives, what we might be too obsessed about. Maybe we're just eating too much. Maybe we're feeding something in we're eating too much, and it's just, all of a sudden we realize that. And it's time to back off on some food. Or doing something too often, too much. Something that's decadent, something that we love. Whatever it is. The energy of this conjunction can bring that to light, so we're able to maybe release it a little bit and really see what it's about. Now, on the 4th and the 5th of November, the moon in Aries will trigger Mars and Pluto and Uranus. So this cardinal moon is all about initiating action, and there's no thinking. It's going to initiate action just at the drop of a hat. It does conjunct Uranus out there in the solar system, and when it does that, it brings things to us that are so unexpected so quickly. Expect the unexpected is always what we say when we see anything connecting to Uranus astrologically, and the moon is there. Now, it's also making a square aspect to Mars and Pluto, because they're also conjunct, but they're not completely conjunct until the 10th and the 11th, and I'll get to that in a minute. So the moon is squaring Mars and Pluto, and that will bring up some intense emotions as well. And there could be some powerhouse arguing, or we can see it in the world, some powerhouse fighting going on. People really trying to maintain control, but losing it. And this is what we see with this energy. And it's just, and then Uranus is involved too, so that just means out of the blue, different things are going to happen. So, whew, we're going to have to exhale a lot on that in that time period, right around the 4th and the 5th of November. But we're coming up to, you know, this is all building up to the full moon on November 6th, and that's at 14 degrees of Taurus. Now that energy is all about, what do I value? I was just mentioning Venus naturally rules Taurus, so this is a good thing. You know, the Sun and the Moon are in an opposition, so that means the Moon and Venus are also in an opposition. And that's the math of astrology. But values, morals, we are gonna, that's a terrible English word, isn't it? What we need to do is really look at, again, those values. Everything I just mentioned about Venus and Scorpio is what this full moon is pretty much about. And for you, Cancer, let me see what house it's in. This full moon's in your 11th house, and that 11th house is all about, it's our friendships, it's the groups we belong to, it's the social things that we're interested in doing. All right, it's the way we want to serve humanity. Have you put too much into this in your life, or have you not put enough into it? Is it time to step up? Or if you can't step up because you have too many other things to do. So the full moon here in your 11th house, in the sign of Taurus, represents how much you value relationships and friendships and groups and all of those things that you belong to. But it also tells me that there's a time, because all the Scorpio energy is opposite this. It tells me that this is a time where you're needing to reevaluate what it is about for you, and how maybe you can fine-tune some of these things so you don't have to work so hard in all of these group endeavors, okay? Pick the things that really mean a lot to you and let go of the things that are just sort of on the peripheral. And that's kind of what this energy is about for you. All right, let me move on. On November 11th, the Mercury moves back into the sign of Scorpio. It was there for just for a couple days before it went retrograde back in October. But it's also at 0 degrees of Scorpio, which is where the eclipse was on October 23rd. So Mercury in Scorpio is always about investigating and digging in deep into what's going on behind the scenes, what the secrets are, what's truly going on. And it's about us going within and finding our own truth as well. But mainly, most people will use it on a very surface level, and we'll have those conversations we need to have. We should be. Lies might come out, or if we're feeling like we've been deceived, we can confront somebody, or have that long conversation with somebody about something that has been on our mind for a very long time, something that affects us, something that's bothering us. We need to move through these energies. Use this day, especially these last few days, use them to have those conversations that you need to have. Now, if you're just not brave enough to have a conversation with somebody about something that is really, really, really important to you, then you write it down and then you burn it. Do whatever you want with it. Mail it to them, however you want to do it. Or you take time and you go into meditation. You invite that spirit in. You invite the spirit of that person to join you if they want to. Free will, remember. And have a conversation there and just try to work things out. Work things out in a very deep, deep level with yourself. And that's what needs to have. That is what needs to happen. We need to do these things for ourselves. And when we do these processes, it works better for what's to come in just the next few days and the rest of this month. So take advantage of these time periods. Take advantage of hearing this and knowing that it's important that during this time period of November 8th-ish that you need to have some conversations that you just don't want to have. Have them anyways. On November 9th, November 10th, 10th and 11th, Mars finally does meet up with Pluto in an exact conjunction. That's just very intense emotions. But it's emotions that we can really feel grounded in a way, so we can release some things, let some things go. But the Capricorn energy of Mars and Pluto in the same location is all about setting down some really strong pillars. It's like rebar and cement, you know, it just really makes a strong, strong, strong foundation. So if there is some things, some guck, some yuck, some ucky things that need to come up and out so you can breathe free again and feel comfortable again, so you feel like you have a stronger foundation underneath you, this is what you need to do. And I want you to do that, because that's going to be very, very important for you. All right, let me look on further here. Now, further in the week, we also have the Leo Moon. This is at the end of the week, around the 13th and the 14th. The Leo Moon is making a square to all this Scorpio stuff and this Taurus stuff, and so it looks like a big T. You know, Mars and Pluto, Uranus, the Moon. So all of this stuff is just making a T square, and what it will do in a very fixed sign. So what it's going to do is it will help trigger us and produce some obstacles or some issues for us to work through. If we choose to work through them, you should have already worked through them. I mentioned that earlier, that, you know, on the 10th and the 11th is when we really should have started moving. On the 9th and the 8th and the 9th, we really should have started moving. So see, I'm backing up here. So that's why I'm saying we should follow this in succession and make sure that all of these things are taken care of and done. All right? So work your stuff. Get in there and really work your stuff. Don't allow it to work you. You work it. I want you to do that for sure. Promise. So, November 22nd, 11/22, great numerology day. We have the new moon in Sagittarius. For you, Cancer, that's in your 6th house, and the 6th house is about what your everyday routine is like, your daily routine. With Sagittarius in that part of your chart, you should be a person who wants to have a fair amount of freedom in your life when it comes to your job. It's somebody who actually could be a teacher on a daily basis. but somebody who learns from their immediate environment. Food's important, but this new moon in Sagittarius is all about, the energy of that is all about having fun. It's exploring new things and having adventures, playing and learning through play, and not being so serious about life sometimes, because life is just giving us a whole lot of stuff to handle and a whole lot of stuff to process through. So to have this new moon right after all these serious Scorpio things is a breath of fresh air, because we need to release many, many things that are just from old energies, the old paradigm. You listen to more than just astrology, I'm sure. So you listen to those energy reports from other people like Lee Harris and things like that, and you could tell it's all about pushing that energy out. Not even pushing it, but you work through it and it just gets moved out of the way. So this Sagittarius new moon is so wonderful for us to really incorporate new energies, new explorations, new potential, new possibilities, and a better sense of freedom in our everyday life. And that's for you, Cancer, because that new moon is in your 6th house, and that's that everyday life part of the chart, what we do on a daily basis. So take advantage of that. I'm going to move on to November 25th. All right, November 25th, the moon conjuncts Pluto. It's a little bit of an intense day, but you know, again, Capricorn energy, so we can take this intensity and it just turns into logic. So anything serious, anything that you've had to work on recently is becoming, you can shift it and it's very logical and practical for you. Very, very good. Mercury also makes a conjunction to Saturn in Scorpio on the 25th. This is the day before Thanksgiving here in the United States. And so if you have any traveling plans, plan ahead. Make sure you plan ahead with plenty of time. Saturn and Mercury together, not always, it's just plans. Traveling goes if you have it planned well. Impromptu stuff, yeah, it might take a little extra work. I don't know. That's what it looks like here. And on the day of Thanksgiving here in the United States, the moon is in the sign of Aquarius. That's the unique one. The black sheep will show up. The black sheep of the family will show up for this holiday here in the United States. All right. But use that moon in Aquarius for intellectual conversations and exploring things that are in your head. Now, some people will take old issues and bring them up and rehash them. Especially if they're an air sign, because sometimes those air signs, they get a hold of something in their head and they don't want to let it go until they've processed it completely. And I mean completely. It could be years ago that something came up that they didn't like, and so now they're going to bring it up. But there is also a very big a fair level of freedom and independence with this moon in Aquarius and uniqueness. So while we have the moon in Aquarius on Thanksgiving Day, start a new family tradition. Do something completely different that you've never done before. You know, have lobster instead of turkey. I don't know, that's not a big stretch, but do something different and unique that's not part of your family tradition, and make a new tradition. And that's what we can do with that, with the energy that's present on Thanksgiving Day here in the United States. All right, folks, I'm going to leave you with that. That was Cancer for November 2014. Please come to my website, nhastrologer.com. The live link is right below this video in the information section. And please contact me for your own private sessions. I have weekly forecasts there. It's actually a daily forecast there that you can become a member of right there on the forecast page. And just explore the whole website. Thank you for watching. Please share. And I'm very grateful for you all who watch. Thank you very much. From my heart, blessings, and namaste.